Howard Spector, who is one of our esteemed alums, the MA Counseling Program. Howard has over 20 years of experience in the information technology industry. He is proud to have earned his MA in Counseling Psychology here at Pacifica Graduate Institute. Howard is the CEO and co-founder of Simple Practice, a cloud-based award-winning practice management solution that provides tools for health service and wellness professionals. Simple Practice was designed for health and wellness professionals in private practice, but customers in other specialties and fields have used Simple Practice for running and growing their businesses.
Hi, thank you. So I'm not much of a public speaker, so I'm going to be a public reader. So I apologize for that if I don't look you all in the eye. There's a lot to say in a short period of time, so I wrote this out just about my experience here at Pacifica. Some of you can probably relate to these things, I'm sure. But my experience at Pacifica is probably one of the most important and transformative things in my life. The campus, the faculty and staff, the 3-day immersion all together create the most unique learning experience. When I was doing my training, I remember in group supervision how apparent it was when there were other trainees from Pacifica. You could just tell, you knew. And I remember many times sitting in the lecture halls here, witnessing my classmates share with great rawness and vulnerability the most intimate parts of themselves. And at times it was uncomfortable, but I thought to myself how privileged I was to be able to witness people in this way, and also how many of my friends back home, in their jobs, just doing the same thing year after year, would never really get a chance to experience something like this, and how lucky I was. I also remember how terrified I was of process day, because that's where the shit really gets real, as I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. It's like that day kind of sitting out at the end of the 3 days, and you knew you had to do your dyads and triads and really kind of get vulnerable, and that was very hard for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, but I remember how important it was also. The experience here, leaving my other life behind, my work, my family, driving up the coast to this really, what I thought was this enchanted place. I mean, looking back, it feels like, did it really even happen? Was it real? And I was on the lower campus, so it was a whole different experience for me. But coming up here and being with like-minded people who spoke a similar language, spending 3 days being kind of torn apart, and then going back home, having a month or so to really process things and rebuilding, and only to come back in a month to do it over again. It was really like exercising, where you break down your muscles, in order to rebuild them and get stronger. So that was kind of my experience here. The experience normalized for me that all these things that I felt were important. I spent a lot of my life really just not feeling like I fit in, because there's a lot of things that I was reading Jung, I was reading Joseph Campbell. I'm a man, there wasn't a lot of guys that I could talk with about this stuff. People were talking about sports and other things that just really didn't resonate with me. So when I came here, it was like a real awakening, because there was 40 classmates who felt the same thing, and the teachers whose books that I had read, and Joseph Campbell's archives were here. It really opened a lot of things up for me. It was very transformative. And one of the most life-changing and healing things that I've ever done is coming to this school. And it couldn't have happened anywhere else, so I'm very grateful for that. It also set me off on a path that can really be summed up for me by the word trust. I actually remember in one of the exercises in one of the classes, we had to write down something on a card, I guess a word, and I wrote the word trust, and I still have that. And for me, trusting myself was it was huge, because I never really trusted myself. And that's, I think, one of the biggest, bless you, one of the biggest takeaways I have from here. It provided me with the strength to trust myself and be able to live my life from that place, and that has led to some extraordinary things. For one, I never ended up going into practice. I came here with the intention of being a therapist, but ultimately building a business that supports therapists is something that I never planned for. But it was the trust I had to follow my heart and intuition that led me here today. Steve Jobs gave a commencement speech at Stanford where he talks about his life experiences that led to his success. He said, "You can't connect the dots forward." Have any of you seen that speech? And that if you trust yourself and follow your heart, that somehow things work out. And I believe that because even though my path at the time seemed in my life going in so many different directions, I've had a lot of jobs, I've worked in a lot of different careers, I've done a lot of different things. Looking back, it all makes sense, and I can connect the dots and see how I got to where I am today. During my training, when I was trying to figure out how to keep track of all my training hours, I thought, Why isn't there a web-based software application that allows you to track all your hours, do all the necessary calculations, make sure you're abiding by all the BBS rules and regulations, print out all your forms? And there wasn't, so I created a product called Track Your Hours. And then I thought about what was I going to do once I was done with my hours and go into private practice. And I started looking at the different practice management products that were out there to try to figure out which one I wanted to use, and there wasn't anything I liked. So I ended up creating the company that I'm at now called Simple Practice. And my company, even though we create scheduling and billing software for therapists, it's really built on a bigger mission of supporting clinicians who I believe, I think of as entrepreneurs and small business owners, but most don't think of themselves that way. And it's really, we're helping, you're out tending the souls of the world, and we're helping you in some small way do that. So it's this mission that we have at this company that really drives a lot of the people that come work at the company. They understand who our customers are and the work they're doing in the world, and that's what brings them to Simple Practice. So I feel like even though I didn't go into practice, I'm doing things that are really helping support you and your colleagues in practice, through building great software tools, providing great support and services, and that brings me a lot of joy. But it's also interesting how, talking about change as a theme here, it's just interesting how, you think you're going to go this way, and you end up going that way, and that way was the way you ultimately needed to go. I still can't help my mom. I still have to explain to my mom why I'm not a therapist. I went to graduate school, did all this stuff, and I ended up going into the software business. But the business has been successful, so she's cool with that. But yeah, it's hard to explain. Even Pacifica is kind of hard to explain to people, because when they say, hey, oh, you're going to graduate school, where are you going? And you say Pacifica, not many people have heard of it. I mean, it's almost like you hear of it if you're supposed to hear of it, But I have to explain, do you know who Joseph Campbell is? They have Devil's Archives there. So, but it's the most incredible, special place. And for me, I feel like without coming here, so many wonderful things in my life wouldn't have opened up. So that's my experience at Pacifica, coming here to become a therapist and ending up not being one. And I'm just very grateful for being able to be here and kind of share that story with you. All right. Thank you.